Hi, great morning, everybody. You are tuning into your cup of chai, courage, hope, and imagination. I am your host and founder, Pratibha Day. On this platform, we use courage to showcase our stories, we use hope to overcome, and we use imagination to resonate and understand with the stories that are being shared. We are going 2 years plus strong on this platform, and today I have with me Dr. Clive Fowler. How are you feeling?
Doing great, Pratibha. Doing great. Glad to be here. Been looking forward for this for a long time. I was wondering
Yay!
when am I going to have a chance to have a try, with Pratibha Day.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm glad to be here.
yeah, and I just want to let everyone know because I know there's a waiting list for my mugs. So I'm relaunching my mugs in the next 2 weeks. They will be here in a week's time, and I look forward to showcasing the mugs, new mugs, and also all my other retail products. So I want you to introduce yourself and let the people know what you do and why you wanted to be here today.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to share with your audience. I am Dr. Clive Fowler. I'm the owner of telehealthconsultants.com as well as Easy Cure to Go, two different platforms, but it's a virtual healthcare platform, one that serves the general business to business community for employer based organizations. And Easy Cure to Go, which we recently launched, is direct to consumer for the marginalized communities, for the single individual, for those who are not a part of a group and who needs to have an opportunity to protect their family economically with having access to healthcare. So that's really what we do, and we've been a nationwide platform. It includes a whole bunch of services. It's not just telemedicine; it's telemedicine on steroids, and I'd love to talk about that a little bit as we go on throughout the day.
Telehealth medicine on steroids. Is that because I know that I was reading your article and I linked it, and it stated in there that there's other services such as for sleep and for other diagnoses as well, right? So I want to ask you, when you first started out, did you start out with just the one service, which is initially just the insurance aspect?
Actually, well, first of all, we are not insurance. This
Oh,
this is
wow.
this is not an insurance product.
Uh-huh.
So there's no limitation into as to when someone can acquire it. You
Mm.
can get this anytime throughout the whole year, anytime you need it. It is not an insurance product, so there's no limitation as to specific time of the year to get access to it. However, to speak to your question more
Mhm.
directly, in terms of when we first started, no, it wasn't just the telemedicine. When we looked, we've been in the virtual healthcare space. We like to call our services virtual healthcare as opposed to telemedicine. And
Mhm.
the reason for it, even though telemedicine is a component of what
Mm.
we do, uh, it is one component, and even in that, we're different from the other companies out there. And I'll share with you a little bit about how that works. Usually, most telemedicine companies stop at telemedicine and the new buzzword today, which is mental health.
Uh-huh.
They'll provide those two services. I don't know when the next buzzword is coming around, but right now the new buzzword is mental health.
Mm.
And so what we did, our telemedicine literally allows you to not only talk to a doctor via video or telephone 24/7, it
Wow.
also allows you through our phone app to literally book a physical visit with a doctor at a clinic, any one of the 7,000 clinics that are in our platform, including all of CVS Minute clinics, are part of our platform. So you can literally go on the app, you can book an appointment, physically go see a doctor, because we do understand that sometimes the virtual aspect is not enough and you do need a human touch. So, as a result of that, we included that in our telemedicine. Then there's a plethora of other services that we provide. You had mentioned about sleep and stress.
Mhm.
Sleep and Stress platform is actually designed and ran for us by the Cleveland Clinic, and everybody knows who the Cleveland Clinic is. So the Cleveland Clinic actually has a special app that they monitor your sleep. It's a 6-week program where you can get in that program and they'll monitor your sleep and give you recommendations as to what you can do to have healthier sleep. And the reason why we did this is because we do understand that sleep is a vital component in the health of an individual, not just the physicality, but their emotional health as well. So our platform includes telemedicine. It includes mental and behavioral health counseling. And even in that aspect, we are quite unique because we offer every one of our members the first 2 50-minute sessions are free. Okay, are free to our members. The first 2 50-minute session, and that includes your entire immediate family. So if you have a family of 5, those are 10 free sessions in your house before you ever pay a dime. That's pretty strong. I mean, apart from your regular monthly fee, you don't pay anything else. It includes things such as prescription drugs, and this is really a challenge in our country today. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, we have opioid problems. We've got all kind of complications. Everybody takes a pill to fix a problem. And so what we have done is wanted to provide a safe place for people to get economic medications safely. So all of our members get access to over 400 generics at a $5 cost or less. And then we took it a step further. Apart from the discount program aspect of it, we have access to international pharmacy for those tier 3 and tier 4 medications, which are a little expensive. We have a unique program called the PAP program. It is our prescriptions assistance program. And what this actually does, Prativa, it allows, once a person qualifies, and we don't do the qualifying, it's done by a third party so that there's no nepotism or anything of that involved. But it allows an individual to be able to get access to medications at such a deeply discounted rate. Let me give an example. You're familiar with medications such as Trulicity. You may have heard this term. You've heard of Humira. These commercials are on TV all over the place.
No, I don't watch TV. I'm glad I didn't hear them.
well, let me tell you the pain point that's happening to the people out there. So someone with diabetes, for example, and they may take a medication called Trulicity. It's 4 injections, but those 4 injections are a $1,200 problem in many cases a month. I've literally seen someone on our PAP program have that cost reduced to about $150.
Wow.
Now, that's significant help to hurting people all across our nation. So they get access to medications, they get access to labs, all of LabCorp and Quest Lab. And the beauty of it is that you can literally go on our phone app, and I'm going to show you what that app looks like real quick.
Yeah, what is it called?
I'm going to pull that up for you real quick and show you exactly what it looks like. It's called Telehealth Consultants. And so the app is going to look like this. All right. And then you're going to log in. And when you log in, there we go. You'll get access to telemedicine. You've got access to prescriptions, got access to labs, behavioral health right there, wellness, which is really cool. And it's a real coach, okay? A real coach that actually walks you through everything. You got access to all of that stuff right there. You get an ID wallet to store all of your information. You're visiting the grandkids someplace up in Montana, God forbid something happens to you. Doctor doesn't know you. You can pull your records up right there. And the doctor has access to it so they can treat you with the level of intelligence. All of this is in there. So a lot of services are available in our program. And we did all of this literally for less than the cost of a cup of chai per day.
What?
Yeah. So a whole family can be protected literally for less than $1.20 a day. It's crazy.
How did this come about?
So I've spent about the last 26, 27 years in the insurance benefit space.
Like all my age, basically.
And see, now you're aging me. Okay, that's not good. Now you're aging me. So I've spent a lot of years dealing with people from the standpoint of life, health, retirement, all
Mhm.
of these aspects. And we have worked with two affiliate partners that we've had for years now. For about 15 years, we've been in the group benefit space, dealing with non insurance items as well
Mhm.
as insurance items.
Mhm.
When COVID hit, 35 million plus Americans were disenfranchised.
Mhm.
They had no access to health care. Doctors didn't want to see them. Everybody was scared to death. It placed a 15-year program that has been in silence and put it to the forefront, which is telemedicine, because it was the easiest way for a doctor to get access to multiple clients and patients who needed help, especially in rural areas. You could reach them because no one was allowed to go and see somebody physically.
Mhm.
Okay. So when we looked at that, the challenge was it was really, again, only for people who were parts of employer groups. It was attached to insurance. So if you didn't have an insurance policy, you didn't have access to telemedicine. This was a challenge. So we got together with our partners and we sat down and looked at this problem. We said somebody needed to do something about it. And we wanted to be able to make this service accessible to the single mother, the single father, the struggling individual, the immigrant who didn't have any help, the
Mhm.
marginalized community, the college student. We want
Hey.
to make this we want to make this available to them who didn't have insurance, or even if they had insurance but needed to complement their insurance. We wanted to make something available for them that did not require them to have insurance.
Mm.
So this is why this is not an insurance product. It
Wow.
is a health benefit, healthcare product, but it's not classified as insurance. So therefore, anybody, associations, nonprofits, fraternities, religious organizations, any one of these that has memberships or a family or an individual can literally get access to or service and have it in the convenience of their home or their office 24/7. They got access to doctors, access to labs, access to clinics, access to mental health counseling, access to prescriptions, all of that stuff available. And we do this in English and Spanish on demand and 170 languages upon request. So if you speak Hindi, I think we can take care of that.
Yeah. Wow. I just feel so impressed. And when I was reading that, I was like, I did not know what you did at all.
Sometimes I don't know what I do either, to be
I
honest.
I could have shared the resource, but everything happens at the right time because I feel that if I wasn't where I am in life right now, I wouldn't be able to understand all the things you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because now that I'm more mature and into my adulthood, I take care of these things for myself. So I
Yes.
understand. One thing you mentioned about telemedicine being different from telehealth, right? That's what you said, right? Can you explain that? Like, what is
No,
telemedicine?
no. What I said was
Hmm.
our telemedicine
Yeah.
is different from the other telemedicines out
Hmm.
there. We are the same in the sense that we provide the same kind of service, access to a doctor via
Right.
phone or video.
Hmm.
Where we differ is that our members not only have access to the doctor virtually,
Hmm.
they have access to a doctor physically, being able to book an appointment with a clinic
Hmm.
doctor. And here's the beauty of it: right from the app I just showed you, you can literally pull up a service, a menu will drop down. Let's say, for example, we were in the flu season, we just
Hmm.
came out of that, and you needed an influenza high dose shot. Okay, you could literally go on there, pull up influenza high dose, put your zip code in, and within a 50-mile radius, you'll see every clinic in the area that provides that shot and the cost of the shot to help you manage your health care. So, and you would pay for it through the app at our discounted rate. So when you go to the doctor, all you're going there for is to have your service and go home. No money is exchanged. The same thing happens with our prescriptions and with our labs. With our labs, it's a $25 fee to have our doctors
Mm-hmm.
to read your lab report and give a diagnosis. Okay, a flat 25, no matter what it is. But then the cost of the lab tests, this is where we differ again. You literally see a menu drop down, and if you know what they call the CPT codes, the code that you're using for the lab test that you want, and if you don't know it, put I don't know, and then it will pull up a menu for you, and you will pick what you want. So it's real a la carte. So you pick that, and you will see the price of that lab test. You'll be able to pay for it through the app and go to your appointment, get your testing done, no money exchanged, and go home. Saving time, giving you control over your health care because you are seeing prices before you go anywhere. So there's no surprises. All of a sudden, oh my God, I've got this bill. No, you knew what it was before you walked in the door. You handled it before you walked in the door, and now you don't have to deal with it. So there's nothing to look over your shoulder for later on. And the same thing with our prescriptions. It's unique. You go on, you put in your zip code, you put in the medication that you want, and bingo, it's right there. You'll see the cost of it, and then you'll get three options. You'll get a home delivery option of 90-day supply, no additional charge for the delivery. Okay.
Wow.
Just pay for the medication. Then you will see a discounted price compared to the price of what it normally is retail. Then you'll see our international price. Then you will see what our PAP program is. Let's say all of that's too expensive. Then you can fill out it's a very simple form for the PAP program. It goes over immediately in real time. They're going to look at it, the independent third party, and they're going to determine whether you qualify for the assistance or not. And if you do, no problem. And here's the thing. Once you qualified for it once, all you need to do is to show proof that nothing changed and you requalify. So you just, and you go back in and you can get your medication. So for people we had an AIDS patient. He had a $2,500 problem a month.
Wow.
And that's a serious problem. And we were able to help him with the PAP program and had him reduced to about $255 for that same $2,500 situation. So it's still money, but compared to what he was paying, come on, it's a little more than 10%. So that's significant help where it really counts. Even dermatology is included in here. You got virtual dermatology. You can literally, you got an itch you can't scratch. You can go ahead and and take a shot and picture of it and send it over discreetly to a doctor. They're going to analyze it, look at it, and then determine whether or not you need to, go get a testing done at one of the labs or something, so we can get a proper culture and see what's going on here, and then they can make recommendations. So there's a ton of things. I mean, college students, this is like beautiful for them. Beautiful for them.
I did not know about it before.
Let me tell you why this is great for college students. Here's the deal. Because look at this. Right now, we're actually working to try to establish some relationships with the HBCUs and several colleges across the country. So, but look at this deal. Most college students never use the clinic that's available to them on the campus. Why? The clinic may be closed at the time that they're available to go because their school schedule. But more importantly, it's because of the fact of sometimes it's embarrassment. I mean, think about this. You went out last weekend. You thought it was a great weekend. You found out 21 days later, it wasn't as great the weekend as you thought it was.
Mm,
Okay? Now you're angry, scared, frustrated, confused. What
mhm,
do? You can call one of our doctors, speak to the doctor, and start the process in getting some help. If you've spoken to the doctor says, hey, look, maybe we need to get some testing done to make sure this is what you may think it is. You book your appointment, go to the lab, get that handled. Once you've gotten that handled, and now we've confirmed that this is really what you think it is,
mhm,
now you can order your prescriptions, pick them up, or have them delivered. I would go pick them up if I were you, because time is of the essence.
mhm,
Pick them up, and then you can use one of your free counseling sessions to talk this thing through with one of the behavioral health counselors to help you understand what the heck just happened here. You know,
mm,
so so there is, it's a unique service. The time is needed for it. It's just, there's just so many ways you could help people. And I mean, and if you're a nonprofits or associations and you want to do something to help
mm,
your members, or you're a religious organization, and you want to provide services, a safe way for your membership to be able to have access to health care, and therefore keeping your congregation as a whole healthy, especially
mhm,
with what we just came through.
mhm,
This is a good way to do that inexpensively and help hurting people all across the country. And we do some strange things. We'll partner with associations and organizations of this nature, nonprofits, because we understand that they're out there doing a good work, and we
mhm,
want to partner alongside them and help them. And how we do that is that in the partnership process, we have a mechanism where we're able to share um, um, uh, a return back to
mhm,
that organization to help them keep going. Like in the case of schools, we will create a scholarship fund for undergraduates because of the pool of members that are there in the student body. We create something for them, and we can either do that through fraternity or sorority or however they want to do it. But we do things like that. We do the same thing for nonprofits and religious organizations that may be doing community work, such as daycares and soup kitchens and things of this nature. Or some of them have programs where they're helping men,
mm.
uh, you know, helping men who have real emotional, mental problems, because they've never dealt with things back in their childhood. And so, any group that has these kind of programs and they're looking to partner with an organization that will help them, not only provide a service through which those members can get assistance from a healthcare standpoint, but also be able to share in the process of being able to keep that program funded. We have ways of being able to work with organizations like
Mm. So I mentioned to you that I work with men now, like men are my clients in
that.
domestic violence
Okay.
prevention. So I find it interesting that you mentioned that, and it reminded me to speak on that. But before we get there, I
Uh-huh.
want to ask you. Seems like your organization, like what you're doing here, has covered all of the gaps, like covered all of the things. What do you still feel like that may be a gap, or that you want to do, that you want to add on?
Yeah, there are a couple of things that we're looking to reach into in the upcoming years. One is direct primary care,
Mhm,
but virtually, where you can have access, a relationship with a specific doctor that you
mhm,
can maintain. Because the way it is structured now, as with all telemedicine and all virtual healthcare,
mhm,
you don't get the same doctor each and every time. So you'll get a professional. All of our doctors are vetted by the um, um,
mhm,
American Medical Association. They have a minimum of 10 to 15 years tenure in the service
mhm,
before they even are qualified to become one of our doctors. And right now, our pool of doctors is over 1,700 doctors, so it's a fairly decent pool. Um, so we want to look at direct primary care. So we're working on that now.
mhm.
The second area we're looking at is being able to provide holistic care practitioners. So in
Mm,
the process of, my mother is a naturopathic physician, and I'm very familiar with this aspect of the business. I do use a lot of homeopathic remedies for myself as well. So, um, what we are looking to do is establish that kind of a network so that you will have an option. You can choose to speak to a regular MD, or you can choose to speak to a holistic practitioner at the time when you call in for assistance. And lastly, we've been looking really hard at getting flat cost ground and air ambulance. Now, let me tell you, this sounds crazy. Well, why would you need that? Everybody has insurance. Well, most people don't know that 66% of ambulance carriers do not take your insurance. That's a separate bill. And a 15-minute drive down the road can be a $2,000 problem quickly. And if it's a rotor wing or fixed wing situation, you're looking at $5,000 up to 30 or 40 grand in a hurry, depending on where you're getting airlifted from. Okay. So it can be a problem. And what we have been able to do, we've been negotiating some extremely hard rates. And we thought we had this settled. We really thought we had it settled this year. And two states came back. I'm not going to mention the two states because I don't want to jinx ourselves, but two states came back and said, well, it needs to be classified as insurance if you're going to allow it in our state. And we said, well, we don't want to do that. Because if we classify it as insurance, that particular service, then it limits who can get access to it. And we wanted everybody to get access to it. And we wanted to keep this cost at $40 or less. Can you imagine you get an ambulance ride, ground or air, and you're only responsible for $40? Now that is giving control back to the general public. But in the meantime, we'll stick to what we've got, and we're doing this well, and we're helping people all across our hurting nation. So those are some of the things we want to do in the future.
Yeah, I've never heard of a service like this, but I wanted to ask you, so would you consider this to be a community mental health service, or is it something else for you?
When you say community mental health, that's usually a governmental issue. And we are not government at all. We're private, but we serve the general public. So, no, and it's not just mental health. Our program encompasses holistically the entire individual from start to finish. So we start, first of all, by giving you access to a doctor via virtual access, telemedicine. So you can speak to a doctor. And then we made it special that you can visit a doctor as opposed to other companies where you can only speak to the doctor. So we took it a notch there. Then we took it from that to the behavioral and mental health counseling, where we're providing free sessions up front for you to be able to talk a problem through, and it covers your entire immediate family. So all the services are for the immediate family entirely. Whether it's a family of 5 or 10 doesn't make any difference to us. They're still all under the same banner for the same flat cost monthly. Then access to prescriptions and access to labs. These things are the core issues that are important for people to be able to get access to. So we wanted to provide that. So when we talk about virtual healthcare, we don't segment it of mental health or segment it as telemedicine or prescription drugs. We got to look at it as a whole entire individual, because we're dealing with whole people and whole lives, even though those lives have broken sections within them. But we want to touch every part of that individual or that family or that organization. We want to touch them all individually, but collectively at the same time. So we put it in one pill. It's a one-shot pill for everything.
I read that in the article. So the holistic aspect, that's what I wanted to ask you about. So you want to include that, right?
It's still in the process. That's a little bit longer dance than one would think, simply because whereas in traditional medicine there is set standards and procedures that have to be adhered to.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in holistic arena, you might say use ginger, the other one says use turmeric. So
Mm-hmm.
you see what I'm saying? So now, so we're still working on creating a safe set of credentials
Mm-hmm.
so that everyone has to qualify, all the practitioners will have to qualify and meet a certain set of standards because our concern first and foremost is the safety for the public. We
Mm-hmm.
don't want, not everybody's going to be a Dr. Sabi. What you see what I'm saying? Not everybody's going to be a Dr. Sabi. Not everybody is going to be like my mother, a Dr. Fowler. Not everybody's going to do all that and are meticulous about what they do in keeping the standards clear so that whatever I don't want to use the term medications, but whatever therapies are being provided
Mm-hmm.
are met to a strict set of standards for safety and things of this nature. So we're still working on that. That's going to be a little bit of a process to get that
Mm-hmm.
done, but this is a futuristic thing that we're looking at doing, and we're working on it feverishly to be able to come to that quickly because the world now is moving towards back to what the Bible was talking about back in the day, using the herbs and using the medicine that's growing in your yard as opposed to taking a pill. So we're trying to meet that demand as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Where do you feel you are when it comes to the medicine sector? Are you more holistic or more pro medicine
So here's the thing.
regarding
Here's the
pills?
thing.
Yeah.
I I I I think that the mark of a truly matured professional
Mm-hmm.
is balance. Okay. So being able to know when to use and what to use for the right time and purpose is what's required. I'll give you an example for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I have had both the A variant and the Delta variant of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was in California. I was at a conference. I was fine. Everybody there was vaccinated. We've all been tested. I've been tested multiple times. I get tested on a regular basis, and decided to go to this conference. So I went.
Mm-hmm.
And about 3 or 4 days later, I was back in Miami. I wasn't feeling too good. And, but there were no signs of anything. And then one day I just couldn't breathe, just
Mm.
started having difficulty breathing. And it got so bad, I really thought that I wasn't going to make it. I wasn't sure.
Wow.
A walking distance was just a problem for me. Every step I'm having, take a breath. And so I went, of course, call or service, went to a clinic and was able to see a doctor there. And the first thing the doctor said, I said to myself, do I need to go to the emergency room? He said, if you go to the emergency room, they're overloaded, you're going to have a problem. He said, I can give you this cocktail. Now, prior to that, I was using the onion on my chest and it gave me immediate relief because onions draw everything from the bodies. That's why when you cut an onion, you use the whole onion. Don't leave piece of it put back in the fridge because it absorbs everything that's inside the fridge. People don't know it's a powerful
I
tool.
didn't know that.
Very, 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 very powerful item. So I
Wow.
was using the onions and the garlic and the turmeric. I was on everything. And I believe it truly slowed the process down because I had heard of another individual, 44-year-old man. He was dead within 48 hours
Wow.
and he caught something from his boss and he had pneumonia in his lungs. So I go to the clinic. Here I am. And the doctor says to me, look, they tested me for COVID. He said, you don't have COVID. I said, but are you sure? He said, you don't have COVID. I said, I don't see any signs of COVID. You have an extremely severe flu. And I said, well, COVID really is a severe flu. It all falls in the same
Mm.
category. People just want to call it something to marginalize it, but it really is it's a bad flu that affects the lungs. The specialist comes in and looks at the x-rays again. He said, this guy has walking pneumonia. It was hiding under my left lobe in my lung, and they couldn't see it. So they gave me a cocktail shot, and within 36 hours, I was feeling better, a lot better. So here is an opportunity where I used the regular the holistic medicines, because I was on the stuff immediately. I was taking my cayenne, I was taking everything, I was throwing everything at it. Okay. And I believe, had I not done that
Mm-hmm.
to slow it down, so I had time to get to a clinic to get the conventional shot, I
Mm-hmm.
would have had a problem. I may not be here today. Okay. So there's a case where both worked together and balance came in the middle. Say the holistic, it's like where faith and science meets. The holistic came together and slowed the process down, so my body had a chance to be able to fend for itself, to buy me time to go and get the antibiotic shots that I needed to take care of that pneumonia. So I'm still here today. So that's the best way I can answer your question in terms of where I sit. I have to sit in the place of balance, because there's a time that you don't need that conventional stuff and you
Mm-hmm.
can get it all from the holistic. And then there's a time when you are so far gone
Mm-hmm.
that the holistic would need more time to work. Had you caught it early, it would have gotten rid of it, but you didn't get on it right away. So you may need that antibiotics, or you may need something to help bolster what the holistic has done, to be able to give your body the chance to rebuild itself, to re-strengthen itself, to regenerate back to where it needs to be.
You know this already, but you speak with such conviction. And yeah, like I feel there's a place for holistic, and there's a place such as regarding my mom, where you need the medication. Not
Yeah.
holistic does not necessarily work in that situation when it's so
Right.
far gone.
Yeah.
um I want to ask you.
Uh-oh.
What?
I'm already sitting down, so I can't get any lower. I don't know where I need to go on this one.
Do you feel there's more left for you to do, in the sense of, I know you mentioned men, do you feel that you want to do something separately and work with men and help men become that you feel the men that they should be?
It's funny you should ask that, because
Mm-hmm.
I have been really contemplating very hard, and have been
Mm-hmm.
approached by several people in relations to doing some podcast work, or
Mm-hmm.
some actually talk show work, to help bridge some of the gap generationally of what's happening. I give you a case that happened to me. I was in Atlanta earlier this year. We
Mm-hmm.
were shooting some video work for a talk show that we were getting ready to do, called Two Doctors Talk. Myself and another doctor colleague of mine, Dr. Katari Coleman, who is really big on child development and child care. She's I bow, to her when she starts talking about that stuff. That's her field, But we were there, and I had an opportunity to share some of our program that I'm sharing with you now with a group of influencers there. They had invited me back to come and talk to them at this gathering that they had. And I walked in the room, and I felt so intimidated. And I don't get intimidated very easily. There's just
Mm-hmm.
not much that intimidates me. But I walked in the room and I felt intimidated. And I'm like, well, why am I feeling this way? I pulled the host aside and I said, do you really need me to do this right now? Because I'm feeling a little. He said, what's wrong, doc? And I said, well, I don't know. I said, you said it was a bunch of influencers, and my generation of influencers wore suit and ties, and this generation of influencers got pants hanging off of their rear ends and dreadlocks, and they're not even Rastafarians. They don't even know what it means. It's like, for them, it's just a style. And I'm like, what is this? And but it told me something. It said to me that I needed to help. Ever since I lost my friend, Dr. Miles Monroe, I remember I was sitting in my office when I got that call, and they told me his plane blew up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I just saw him in the airport. We crisscrossed each other in the airport. and like 2 3 weeks before,
Mhm.
and there's been like a space there, a gap there, and then we just lost Bob Proctor, a few months
Mhm.
ago too. So there's this space there, and I'm not claiming to be at the level of these men. Each man has their own place and their own giftings to bring to the table. But that room that day in Atlanta said to me, there's a generation that is either lost or about to get lost because they don't have a gap. There's no one that they relating to that is helping them activate their gifts and talents and showing them that this can be done. And so I really, yes, yes, I want to start doing more of that. Yes, I'm going to start doing more of that. So in answer to your question, yeah, I feel like John Wick. It's like, people keep asking me, "Am I back?" Yeah, I think I'm back. So basically, that's really where I'm at with this right now. Yeah.
Do you know of Tony Porter?
No, I don't know him.
I will send you his video. He has a video called "A Call to Men," and he's an
Okay.
African American gentleman. And he's
Okay.
uh, in your age sector, so
Really?
no, but he
See?
has he has such wisdom too, and he speaks with such powerful words as well, and his own story and how he treated women and how he was compared to what he does now. So he has a foundation where they work with men and help them and guide them, and I really see that for you. I see that. I just feel that that's something you're called to do. Like that's just what I sense from you. And that's why I asked that.
Well, I try not to regulate it only to men because
Mhm.
I do a lot of counseling as it is now, and I
Mhm.
do realize that there are unique problems on both sides of the spectrum.
Mhm.
Uh, um, Men are generally the products of what they have been raised to see,
Mhm.
and so are women products of what they've been raised to see. And both of them need to understand that people will treat you the way you let them treat you.
Yes.
So it goes both ways. So and we could be this is like a whole new show right here. We could be talking about this for days. So
Yeah.
where a lot of women get mistreated by men, and it's not necessarily just that the man is just that bad, but the woman gives the license for them to be able to do that
Mm.
because they accept it
Mhm.
and think it's okay. And it's not, you got to draw that line in the sand and stand your ground. It's not okay. It's not
Mhm.
okay. And men, because of what they had been taught,
Mhm.
have this challenge. Let's shift a little bit. I'm going to show you something. So this goes directly to the root of the mental and behavioral health aspects.
Mhm.
Okay. And what happens here, a lot of times, we have been taught to address these problems more so from the psychological and intellectual standpoints, where we want to counsel and we want to give medications. That's generally how we have been handling this.
Mhm.
I would beg to differ that there is an unseen predator which has been lurking in the shadows, that's contributing largely to this problem that no one wants to really address. And it's called diet.
Wow.
Believe it or not, it's called
Yeah.
diet. Remember the saying, you are what you eat? You
Mhm.
really are what you eat. Okay. So here's where people need to understand. And I think if the professional arena would take more of an approach from this standpoint, because this is how I deal with it. I look here first. I don't
Mhm.
want to look at just the problem that you had. I need to understand how you got the problem that you had. So a lot of it traces back to the diet. The excess sugars in the blood that you have in that diet causes you to have a blockage. So you can't think correctly a lot of times. The types of spices and the greasy foods and all these things, this
Mhm.
fast foods, all those things contribute to you having a problem in terms of being able to think clearly and make sound decisions because your blood is not clean. 90% of the diseases in the body starts here in the
Mm.
mind. 90% of them. Okay. So in order to have a clear mind, you have to have good blood. In order to have good blood, you have to have good nutrition coming into that blood. So it's not just a matter of, well, I'm eating healthy, but
Mhm.
are you getting a nutrition? Is your body able to absorb that which you are eating, that is going to be able to allow your body to process it correctly so that your blood is fed properly, so your brain is getting the right amount of oxygen intake? It's like the 8 laws of health, godly trust, sunshine, water, exercise, all these different things are necessary to the whole brain thinking of an individual. And then now beyond that is the environment that they grew in. Okay.
Yes.
See, so we need to start at the table with what we're putting in here. Let's make this right so that whatever is happening out here, I have something to fight it with. But if I'm putting junk in here, and I don't want to call any names, but if we're putting junk in here, all the fast foods and all the sugars and the spices, and look, I'm a sugarholic. I love to bake. Okay. I just being honest. Okay. I love to bake. But
Mhm.
I've been learning that when I eat certain things, it causes me to react certain ways. I get lethargic. My response time is different. I'm more irritable when I eat certain things because my body doesn't process it properly. So, therefore, I'm not able to relieve it properly. So, therefore, it stays in me longer. And now the toxins go back. And now I'm fighting myself.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So, folks don't realize that. And it acts out in my behavioral pattern towards my spouse or my significant other or my children. Or so now I become a product of what I just ate. Combined with my environment, I'm in a losing cause. You got to help yourself somewhere. You know, give yourself a fighting chance. And you can control what you put in your mouth. You may not be able to control where you were born and how you were raised,
Mhm.
but you definitely can control what you put in here and what you put in here. Okay? Because eating is not just the physical, it's also the mental.
Mhm.
So, what are you reading? What are you watching? What are you feeding your brain? These things you're feeding your brain now becomes the byproduct for you later, and now you're having a problem. You can't understand why all of a sudden you just got up and yelled. That phone call came in, you were fine 5 minutes ago. Suddenly you picked up the phone and you just absorbed everybody's problem on the phone, and now you're carrying the problem and you're looking someplace to put it. And the first
Mhm.
person is the one who walked in the door, and you unload on them. And they're like, but what just happened? So am I telling the truth or not?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
And one thing when you said diet, I thought social diet, right? Like who we surround ourselves with, the environment. I thought of diet, in a variety of everything, like everything you just covered, because not just the physical diet
Yeah,
itself.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But remember now, all you have is you. Okay. You got the one you. And here's the challenge. Um, People, when a man realizes, or a woman, okay, when a
Mhm.
person realizes that they have only one life to live, okay, the one we got right now, we got the one life to live right now, you want to acquire everything
Mhm.
until you've gotten the everything at the expense of what you already had. And now you realize, wait a minute, you want to spend that everything to try to regenerate what you've had.
Wow.
Why not just have some proper balance? Okay. Let's take care of you. Start loving on yourself enough. Get that self love working so that you're feeding yourself properly, physically, mentally, emotionally, so that you're in a better place. So that when people come in your space, you have the decision-making ability to say, well, no, that one is not allowed in my space. Or
Yeah.
yes, this one is allowed in my space. You see what I'm saying? And this is a problem that a lot of women have.
Yeah.
This is a big issue with them because they sometimes come into a situation with feeling less. And so therefore they have to accept whatever is thrown at them. Why?
Mm.
And now it's happening for men too. There's some men who we call them mama men. They mama's boy.
Uh-huh.
No spine. No spine at
Oh my
all.
God.
As a result, they have no leadership ability, and because of no leadership ability, they get led wherever they don't want to go.
Mm.
This is a problem until it snaps, and when they snap, then everybody suffers. How do you explain the guy who was calm every day or the woman who was calm every day, and while she's giving you the toast and the marmalade for the toast in the morning, and she's looking at you in the back of her mind, she says, I can't stand you. How do you explain the guy who is reading the newspaper and he gets up to take out the trash and never comes back?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
See? So these are deep-seated issues that manifest themselves mentally and emotionally, but it goes to the spiritual and to the physical aspect of the individual by what they ate physically and what they ate spiritually. What did you put in here? What did you take into you so that I have something to give back to somebody out there? No balance. Faith and science has to meet. And when you talk like this, people say, well, you can't have science and faith. Well, that's because they don't know what they're talking about. Because hold on, look. Let's say you're a Bible believer, okay? Let's say you're a Bible believer.
Yeah.
And if you're a Bible believer, people read the Bible and say, well, this is a fairy tale.
Oh my gosh. Someone sent me this.
Okay. So check this out, right? So check this out. There's science there. Because if you believe that God is the creator and he spoke things into being, it's funny. He spoke everything into being according to scripture in a literal 6 days, according to scripture, with the exception of when it came to making man.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't speak him into being. He formed him with his hands, see? And when he formed the body, that's formation. That wasn't creation. He formed it. He took a raw material called humus and he formed the body, but there was no life in it. The next thing he did was he took himself, his breath of life, according to scripture, and he breathed into that carcass, that humus, and man became a humus man. According to scripture, it says he became a living soul. The stork didn't bring him one. He didn't get a soul. He became, according to scripture, is what it says. So if this is the case, there's a very unique connection, very intimate, between the physicality of an individual and the mentality of an individual. So when one suffers, the other one empathizes. And this is clear because look, if you're feeling depressed mentally because of an emotional situation that happened, it shows up on your body. Okay, you either break out with something or you grab some Hazendaz and you start down in it, and then it shows up later, right? So I mean, so I'm a little partial to Hazendaz, but this is what happens, right? So you've got to realize you do have the power to stop the madness. You have the authority to be able to say, no, I'm not doing that. Why are you allowing the enemy to use you to kill you? The fight is not out here. The fight is in here, in between your two ears. Whoever controls this, controls this.
I cut it off quick once I noticed those red flags. I actually just cut someone off this morning. I was not having them speak to me how they speak to me, two people actually, and tell me what I need to be doing and things of that nature. Those red flags and how people speak to you. And it's like, why should someone be an exception? Why should you excuse one person when you normally because it's through texting or another platform,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But normally in person, you'd be really upset. You would not accept that. But why would you make an exception? Oh, because of it's in text format. But that person is still mistreating you and you don't
Yeah.
deserve to be mistreated. And once I see that, I cut it off, whether it's a friend or someone I'm talking to or anybody,
Yeah.
because that's how they get that control. And since I've been in those situations before, I know how to notice those early signs. And especially now working with men and teaching
Yeah.
classes, like my job is to teach, clients on how to have healthy relationships. So if I don't do that for myself, how can I best serve the people that I do for my
Right.
job?
Right.
This is such a great conversation. I want to ask you one last question.
Go ahead.
How do you like Spain?
Oh, wow. It's like anything else. I mean, where I am, God has blessed me so much. I can't complain. I'm in an environment where I've got 7 natural springs where I go get water from every morning.
Wow.
Cold coming out of the mountain. I don't have to pay for it. It's free.
Wow.
You know, um, I got views to die for.
Mhm.
I can't complain. Took some adjusting because when you come from an environment where things are open 24/7,
Yeah.
that's and it's not here.
Uh-huh.
I mean, check this out. Every day at lunchtime, everything shuts down and everybody goes
Yes,
home.
does, right?
And I'm like, what are you talking about? And coming from a capitalistic society and dealing with people who still think proletariat, in my opinion,
Mhm.
where I work 8 hours and that's it. And I'm like, wait a minute, 8 hours? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm still stuck on the 10 and 12 and 15 and 16 hours,
Mhm.
but I'm
Mhm.
learning to
Mhm.
balance that and to do what I need to do within a time frame that I need to do it. So I manage my time better now. And
Mhm.
when I'm not, when I get out of kilter, I feel it. I
Mhm.
feel it on my body. I walk more now. Um,
Wow.
I mean, learning to enjoy a little bit more. I'm actually lost some weight, for crying out loud. I mean, go figure, right? So this is a good
Do
thing.
you feel bad, like when I feel that when I do yoga and tai chi, like hot yoga and tai chi is a martial art, which I didn't know before I did it. And people think that they have this misconception it's for old people, but no, if you
Oh,
start young, you have
yeah,
balance and coordination. And I feel
yes,
I don't know if you know this, but when I was in the class, there's nothing else you can focus on but Tai Chi. Like your
yeah,
brain doesn't have the space to think about or worry about what am I going to eat for lunch or things of that nature. You're worried about taking your next step in
yes,
martial
yes,
arts. And
yes.
I think that is such a brilliant way to heal from any kind of mental health concern you may have when you pick up an activity with a skill, you know?
It's
Yeah.
funny you should mention all that because one of the things that I'm trying to do here, God has blessed us here. I have about 2.5 acres here, and I'm trying to do a holistic detox center here.
Hey,
And Tai Chi is one of the things that we were looking at actually
yes.
having a practitioner come in and being able to do that for people to help them here. So we're in the process of trying to build all that right now.
You're
So
doing a lot, like,
I don't know about that, but
but you have help, right?
sometimes I wonder if I have help.
You
But
do. You
anyway,
have a team. Wow.
yeah, God has been good.
Oh,
Can't complain.
yes. Ishika Asi Talk Center in Spain. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So, one more question. You think you got time for it?
Go ahead.
Because I feel like this is such an important question. Do you ever feel that there will be a time where people will get the help they need when they need it without those restrictions of like income and things of that nature? Do you feel like even after our lifetimes, do you feel like there will ever come a time where things will be made comfortable for us and not where people are struggling so much, you know?
Unfortunately, there are forces at bay which is far beyond.
Mhm.
Um, there's more politics involved than there
Yes.
is
Yeah.
truth.
Mhm.
So there are two fleecings of America: the retirement system and healthcare.
Yeah.
Those are two biggest areas where Americans are being fleeced every day. No one can explain to me till this day why a 35-cent production bag of IV fluid needs to cost $35 to the insurance company because the insurance company is paying for it. I don't know why that is. It doesn't make sense. So would I like to see that happen? Yes. Are we in that fight to help that to happen? Yes. But it's going to take more than just us and or affiliates. It's going to take everybody coming to the point where they're holding our government officials accountable in order to make it happen. Can this be fixed? Yes. It's a very simple solution. In fact, I've written several briefings that I've sent several times, and on deaf ears. But they don't want to solve it because there's too much money involved in solving this problem. Why should I cure you for $350 when I can treat you for $750,000 over your lifetime? This is the problem, and until that problem is addressed, it will never be fixed. Never be fixed, because they don't want to fix it. It's too much money involved in fixing it. Why should we do that? It's no different than when GE created a light bulb that doesn't burn out. They never sell it because they never sell another one. You understand? So therein lies the problem, and I'm sorry to say it, but I'm in this industry. This is the truth of the matter. I'm not proud of it, but we do what we can to fight for the people, for it, to try to make a dent, to help. And if everybody does the same thing, then yeah, some changes can occur. Will it ever change in our lifetime? I don't know, and I don't think so.
I feel like this was the realest question I've asked ever. Seriously. Because it's so close to home now. Like, I mean, the work you do, the work I do, and just seeing people like that, who can't afford things, and just me growing up knowing that, 401k is not really a big deal anymore. And it's like me, someone who's in their last year of their 20s, figuring things out. How can I have the best financially free future? How do I get these pieces together? And I feel like everyone's scared. And I feel like that's a lot of the reason why people have mental health concerns, or things that turn into disease.
Let me say this to you. You use the word fear, and I know we need to wrap this
scared.
up.
Yeah.
I know you need to wrap this up, but you use the word scared. And first of all, fear is not an option. Okay. And here's why. People have a right to be scared when you don't have a plan. Everybody's always scared of the unknown because you don't have a plan. Okay. The first thing that you need to understand is who you are. It's not your title. It's not your profession. It's not your name. Understand who you are. When someone asks me a question of who I am, I don't tell them my name or my title. The first thing I tell them is, one, well, I'm a child of God. That's a cosmic affirmation that I am somebody.
Yeah.
I'm above all and not beneath. I'm the head and not the tail. I am more than a conqueror, not because of my own self and my own strength, but because I'm connected to the source that provides me the strength to be able to do that. I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. And by the way, my name is Dr. Clive Fowler. So you got to understand who you are, first of all. When you understand who you are and you understand whose you are, because you are a child of God, that means you came from God Incorporated. And if you come from that company, the company stands behind its product. No more so than Del Monte puts their name on their peaches and they stand behind the product. Okay. So God has to stand behind his product. And if this is the case, you know that, then you need to make a plan so that you don't plan to fail. Failing to plan is planning to fail.
Yep.
And how do you create a plan? You got to go back to the manufacturer. Go to the source. That big book that you just picked up right there. Go back to the source, to your manufacturer, and ask so that you can receive. But when you've asked, don't just ask. Believe what you've asked for and call into existence what does not exist as if it already does. That's what we call faith. Okay? Now, when you have that faith, you take that faith and combine it with the science of get busy and get to work. Don't sit on your laurels. Go find something to do. So
Wow.
when you do that, now you're moving in a direction. So having a plan takes the fear out of it because you got an agenda to follow.
Wow.
See, people are scared to death because they have no plan, no clue, and no one to go to. They don't know who they connected with. They don't know where they came from. Understand that first, so you can move with expediency. You can move with intelligence. You can move without fear. Death has no dominion over you when you understand that, because you understand that the key to life is death. And I don't mean killing yourself. I mean dying to everything around you so that you can stay focused on your agenda. That's what made Christ successful. That's what makes all these other people successful. They are dead to everything else around them. They're strictly focused on the agenda at hand, so they cannot be affected. What do you do with a man who's dead? If you beat the corpse, he doesn't feel anything. If they pick up the phone and call you and say something to you to drop in your spirit that's frustrating you, you don't absorb that because you're dead to it. You see? So when you're dead to it, it can't affect you. And if you can't be affected by the people around, and I'll leave you with this. And then I'll shut up after this. Ships sail on top of the water, and the submarines sail through the water. Why? Because they do not allow the water to get inside. When they allow the water to get inside, they become victimized by their surroundings. You have to decide whether you're the ship on top of the water or the submarine going through the water. You can't allow your environment to get inside, because you will sink. And getting up is a lot harder.
That's a terror barrier. Dolly is here. That's the terror barrier. It does. It was so deep what you said. I feel like that is the deepest one. And, I recently heard that the building is never affected by the fog. Like a building is not affected by the fog. It just moves through it. It doesn't physically harm it.
Exactly.
You are incredible. All right. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, all of your wonderful comments, and our Chai Together mugs will be available in 2 weeks and more stuff coming out. So I want to thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening in Spain.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. Appreciate it. Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.